Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Science with Sean. I'm going to spend some time talking about the concept creating your own path or forging your own path. This is especially relevant to me right now as I go through some job transitions, and I just think it's a really relevant topic for people who are on the spectrum. But even not necessarily on the spectrum, it can be relevant to just about anyone who's kind of looking for um, the optimal job fit, the um, whatever kind of career aspirations you may have, or just any kind of life goals that you may have. I think it's a really relevant topic to really dive into. So I'm going to spend some time going into it, um, the importance of it, why it's important, what I mean by it, and so forth. So yeah, yeah. So what I think, what I want to highlight at the outset is, not lowering your expectations even when things go wrong. I think it can be tempting to, um, if things are difficult or with like a job in particular, and it just doesn't kind of go the way that you had hoped, or like there aren't opportunities for you to kind of be in the kind of position or job responsibilities that you want, studying the things that you want to study, um, and, for example. Um, so I think the important thing is when it doesn't necessarily work out, or if it's just not a good fit, realizing that, um, especially just like any conventional job for someone on the spectrum, I think can just be very challenging. Um, and so um, right now, I'm just very focused on creating my own path, not lowering my expectations of myself or sacrificing what I want out of life, but committing to. I haven't changed the destination. I've just I'm taking a different route to get there. It's just going to look a little bit different for me, and a lot of times that can be scary. Um, Not knowing how to get there, but you don't have to necessarily have all the tools at your disposal. Um, you don't have to necessarily have the answer of exactly the route you want to take, like a GPS system. But if you have the right landmarks, you know how to acquire the resources that will help you, you know how to figure out and solve problems, you're going to be fine. And I think that's really important to keep in mind that even though you can't see very far down the road how you're going to do it, you just know that that's something that you want more than anything. It can be challenging. So just taking things one step at a time. So as I try to um, step away from a lot of these conventional jobs that where it makes it difficult for my brain to not go into sensory overload, um, by whether that's being around lots of people or it being like too fast paced, or not having breaks, or just not being able to have the freedom to kind of pursue my own research interests. Um, Whatever the case may be, I think it's important to just take it one step at a time, to making a commitment to small incremental progress, breaking up, not looking at the mountain, but just taking that first step. And so it's important to ask yourself, what does the next step look like? What's the first step look like for me? Um, and then kind of coming up with a plan. So once you identify a specific goal, coming up with a plan, strategizing what it's going to take to get there, and making sure that like those goals are kind of realistic, that it's not like this outcome based goal. A lot of times those can be helpful, but to have like a general sense of where you want to be, like if you want to have um, I don't know, 1,000 followers, 10,000 followers, 1,000,000 followers, whatever the case may be, um, making sure that you also have at least some task oriented goals. So things that you can do that are actually within your control, because you can't control whether or not people subscribe to your channel or uh, follow you or share the videos or whatever. So um, it's important to kind of keep in mind, like, hey, what are some things that I can do that are within my control? For example, like I'm going to put out a video. If I say I'm going to put out a video once a week, that's something I can't control. Or if I say that I'm going to reach out to um, 5 different people, apply to 10 different jobs in a week, or things like that, that are quantitative, that are, you have a clear sense of whether or not you will meet that goal or not, so it's not very ambiguous and things like that. So yeah, yeah. And as I go through like this next chapter, this next phase in my life, um, what helps me kind of get over that fear, or that not just viewing it as this big mountain that I need to climb, and I can think about how much time it could potentially take just to get there, even if I can do it. I think what helps motivate me and ground me is asking myself, do I want to remain the same, or do I want to get better? Because if I don't try, I won't get better. Um, and then 5 years from now, if I'm in the same place, I'm not in any better position. And so I do have a desire to grow. I do have a desire to get better, to continue to learn, and so forth. Um, it may take some time, but I've found that even if I don't have to have all the confidence in the world that I'm going to get something done. I just have to want it bad enough, um, to where I just can't do without it. Um, I have to want it. If I want it more than anything else, if I'm willing to put in the work, it doesn't really matter if I don't have 100% confidence in myself. So, and I found that to be the case in a lot of different things that I have done. Like, for example, a fitness goal that I had was to be able to bench 300 pounds. Um, and so I've been able to do that, even though I had people tell me I couldn't, that I just didn't have the genetics for it, that my arms were too long or whatever. I ended up accomplishing that. So that was one thing where I was just like, I hear you, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so that was also the case with grad school. Like, I didn't have all this confidence that I was going to be able to be successful in my master's program, but I did it anyway. And now I have, a 3.93 GPA after my first year of my master's program. And I am going to be able to hopefully be able to get into and at least apply for some PhD programs in neuroscience or genetics and biology and so forth. So um, there should be some opportunities out there for me, but I did not expect to succeed. I just did it anyways. So, and there are other things that I want. I not just for having a job itself. There are a lot of great things for your mental health and having that social connection with other people, with coworkers. Um, but just being able to have a sense of independence, to be able to just have money for basic things like groceries, have my own apartment, um, have a job where I can have my own health insurance, or because my parents aren't going to be around, forever. So, and there are other things that I want that are not necessarily needs, like safety and transportation and food and water and things like that. But being able to travel, being able to reward myself um, after I achieve something, like after I graduate with my master's, I want to be able to reward myself in some kind of way, whether that's a trip or buying something for myself. So those are all, I think, really important things that may not necessarily be needs, but would certainly be helpful for sure. Um, and then ways to kind of go about doing this, I would say I try to keep three things. I'm trying to keep three things in mind. So one would be strengths, two would be my interests, and three would be opportunities. So, um, thinking about what do I bring to the table right now? What kind of experience? What kind of knowledge do I have? What skills do I have? Thinking about different topics that interest me and where those strengths and interests overlap. Like if you think about a Venn diagram, where are the things that overlap where I would be both good at it and I would enjoy it? So I don't think they have to be, completely opposite things that never intersect. But um, and then the third thing would be the opportunities that I have around me or around yourself. So just trying to think of geographical things that may be close by. What companies are nearby you? Um, what opportunities are there in terms of, like, if you're into animals, like animal shelters, even just on a volunteer basis. If you're into research like myself, what kind of volunteer opportunities are at research facilities or universities um, close by? How close are they to you and so forth? Are there conferences that you can go to kind of get uh, more socially acquainted with peers who are already in the field and so forth? So, um, and kind of what I found to at least be the case for me is when I start complaining, when I start making excuses for myself, and when the challenge feels so overwhelming that it leads to like paralysis of indecision. Like you're so indecisive, you don't even know what to start first. Um, you don't know how much to do, and so forth. You just feel kind of overwhelmed with how how long it'll take, how much you have to do, and so forth. Those things won't help; they'll just waste time for me. And so I've thought about, what if I only did things that were going to help me? Like, if I only had positive, constructive thoughts about what I'm able to achieve, what I'm able to grow in, what I currently have now and so forth. So, and I know that because it feels like there are very few options for me, even though I have a lot of strengths and like a lot of strengths and skills to bring to the table, and that I'm still learning and going to learn here through my graduate program. Um, I just can't really imagine myself doing a typical conventional job working um, in most areas and in most locations, unless it's in research or a library or um, things like that. So I'll have to, and in the meantime, I'm just kind of looking to forge my own path, being able to have that flexibility in hours and breaks and pace and minimizing distractions, not being around a ton of people in a way that's overwhelming, not overstimulating myself, doing, not overscheduling myself, while also not underscheduling, of course. But um, yeah, yeah. So those are just kind of the thoughts that I've had recently as I kind of move out of a particular job and really start looking to what entrepreneurial things can I do, what skills and strengths, experience do I bring to the table, and so um, yeah, I'm currently kind of exploring what that looks like and what I can kind of do in the meantime as I kind of get adjusted to a new schedule and look to finish up my last year of my master's program. What does that look like for me? And so um, I'm currently exploring, things to do with YouTube, things to do in terms of blogging, or um, what I can do in terms of research. So things like that, fitness, writing, whether that be books or whatever. So um, doing, career coaching for people on the spectrum and things like that. So yeah, yeah. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking through. But thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope my own thought processes and questions were helpful for you, whatever stage of life that you're in. If you're kind of, because, for people on the spectrum, it is hard to kind of assimilate into a neurotypical world where, the environmental supports oftentimes just aren't there, and it can be really frustrating. So when you can't, when the environment is not conducive to your neurobiology, to your own brain and nervous system and so forth. So um, yeah, I'm with you on the journey. If you are on that journey as well, um, whether you're on the spectrum or not, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely feel free to comment or check out my blog. There's more information on how to contact me there. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this episode of Science with Sean.